Hi everyone, just want to get started on creating an Ableton instrument from scratch. So look, I'm just going to go through this assignment step by step just to make sure that everybody knows exactly what they need to do. So let's have a look at our brief. So we need two Ableton instruments, which we can select just from the Ableton browser, a detune control that varies the pitch of one of these instruments, a sub oscillator to play an octave below, a mapped volume control to mix the three oscillators or the three synths or three instruments together that we will have there. We need to map to the ADSR envelope generator, and we need a switchable low pass high pass filter, and then we need to sequence a 16 bar melody. Could be shorter, not really too concerned about that, but we will need to put in some automation nodes adjusting volume, filter cutoff and detune. First off, to get started, I'm going to open up Ableton and I'm going to get rid of my audio channels because I don't need those, and I'll get rid of that MIDI channel. So we just end up with one MIDI channel there. Going across to our instruments here, we can see we've got a whole bunch there, but let's start with operator. So dropping an operator in, first thing I'll do is lower this volume a little bit because I know it's going to be quite loud when it comes out. And we need to think about what kind of instrument that we want to get started with. So opening up operator section here, I think I'm going to go for a piano type instrument. And one thing that is kind of important for this project is that we choose a piano that is just one instance of operator. Now you can see that some of these have little lines through the middle of them when we look at these presets, these ADV or ADG presets. We want to go for an ADV that doesn't have the line down the middle because that tells us that it's not already a grouped instrument. So I'm just going to go with FM1 Classic. Okay, once again, make sure I've got that volume down. Let's have a listen. Okay, so a nice sounding little instrument there. And one of the interesting things that I'll get you to note straight away is that we've actually got two sound sources on this one. So if we look just here at our algorithm, you can see that we have those two stacked on top of each other. So D into C and B into A. So if we were to come across here and we were to turn A and C off and then play notes, we're sending the MIDI data through, but nothing's happening. There's one, there's the two together. Okay, so we've got two sound sources from this one instrument, which is kind of easy to work with and what we'd like. But if I were to get started straight away, how do I turn this into a grouped instrument? Well, it's Command G like this, and this will give us this grouped instrument. It's Control G on a PC and Command G on a Mac. Rightio, let's have a look what we've got now. So we have these buttons that have appeared on the side, and you can see that it's encased in some kind of extra thing here. If we think of this in physical terms, maybe they're like the side of a rack mount for a instrument setup or a setup in a studio. So let's open these up, these buttons here, and I'll explain what they do, and I'll close them down and get us as simple as possible. Alrighty, so the first button at the top here, that turns it on and off. Second one opens up the macro section. The third one here opens up the chains. Okay, so in here, this is essentially the audio chain of our track, and we can see here we've got FM piano 1. We can see it's coming out at 0 dB. We can see that it's turned on. It's got a solo button there, and it's even got a left and a right panning button there. Now if we click on our last one at the bottom, we can actually see there's our instrument all set up. So now if we were to grab another instrument, we can actually pop it right in here. So let me see, what are we going to drop in here? Let's find a pad instrument to go with our keys. Once again, we want something that is just an ADV, not an ADG. So let's go with this one, analog slow sweep pad. So I can now just grab this here in the browser and drag it down and drop it in here. And so now you can see we've got two. If I play some notes, you can hear that we've got both of our instruments coming in at the same time to play those notes for us, which is kind of sweet and sounds nice. Cool. So we've now got two instruments in here together. Now if we just check back on what our instructions are, there we go. Two Ableton instruments, we need a detune control, and we need a sub oscillator. Okay, let's have a look how we do that detune control. So one of the things we need to do is set up volume controls, and we need to set up a detune control. So volume control, that's going to be relatively easy. So if I click on the volume, let's say on the FM piano, I can click on the volume here and I can edit that to macro 1. So I might just do that now. And we can see that we've got a little green dot there and the volume is controlled like that. So if I pull that down, we're only hearing the pad. I'll turn that up. Now we have the pad and we also have our piano. Cool. So I'm going to give this one a color and I'm going to rename it as well and call it FM piano vol. There we go. So now we know that that's for our FM piano. And if I click on our analog slow sweep pad here, I'm going to right click here and I'm going to map that to macro 2. Okay, we can see that volumes appeared there. I'm going to give that one a color and I'm going to rename this one as well, and let's call it pad vol. Cool. So now we can control our volume from both of these individual parts here. Cool. Now while we're here, we need to think about that other thing that we needed, which was a sub oscillator. So I'll include a video on how to create a sub, but right now I'm just going to do the most simple thing I can possibly think of, which is grab another blank operator. Here we go, and I'm just going to mute these other ones here. Quickly mute that one, mute that one. You can just hear this one. Let's have a listen to this. Okay, so easy to follow along. What I will do is I'm just going to go to transpose here and I'm going to pull that down 24 semitones, 2 octaves. And there we go, that's playing a nice deep sound under there for us. And I'm just going to do the same thing as I did before. I'm going to map to volume 3 and I'm going to call this one sub. So let's give it that one a color, make it blue, and give it a name, rename, and call it sub vol. Cool. So now that's ready to go. Turn the other two back on. Let's have a listen now. And we can hear that low note underneath there. Cool. All right, so let's see how far we've got through here now. So having a look there, we've got two Ableton instruments, we've got a sub oscillator, but we need to do that detune control, and we've mapped the volume to the three oscillators. So let's detune one of these instruments. Cool. So if I jump in here and I have a look at our FM piano, I can see that we've got the fine tune on all of these pushed up pretty high, and the FM piano, as we mentioned before, has got two outputs, which is this one here C and this one here A. So there are two audio outputs, so they're the ones that would probably be easiest for us to tune. Let's have a look at the analog. Okay, so that's a pretty similar deal. So what we'll do is we'll detune the FM piano. So we're going to use our fine controls here, and I'm going to right click on fine, and I'm going to map that to 4, and I'm going to map that to fine as well. So we've mapped two controls there, and you can see I'm moving them at once with the macro, and that works fine. So let's have a listen to what that sounds like. So that's a fairly big amount, which we can tune that entire semitone, but I think that's kind of cool, so I reckon we'll leave that one like that. So let's give that a nice colour too. Great. Oh yes, let's rename it, of course, and we'll call it detune. Cool. Alrighty, we're some way through our assignment now, aren't we? Let's have another quick look. Alright, let's see. Two Ableton instruments, check. A detune control that varies one of these instruments relative to the other, check. Sub oscillator, check. A map volume control to mix the three oscillators together, yes. Ooh, a mapped ADSR envelope generator. Alright, that looks pretty cool. Let's see how that's going to work. So if we have a look at our ADSR on each of these, let's look at our envelope. Okay, and let's look at this envelope. Right, have a look at this one here and here. Yeah, so we can see that this envelope is starting right at the front. That's okay. We can do that, and with the analog we've got a little bit of time in there, but that's okay. Let's go through these. So click on this one here, and we can see, let's just do the attack. So there's the attack there. I'm going to right click on that and map that to 5. Let's pop onto this one. That's the other one we can hear, attack, and I'm mapping that to attack as well. Cool, so we've now got two of them mapped. Yeah, that's great how that comes in, but we can also map our piano as well, which might be fun too. So I'm going to click on each of these. There we go. So on this one A, one of our sound source, I'm going to right click here and map that to macro 5, and then I'm going to click on this one here, attack, and map that to macro 5. So now all of them are mapped to macro 5. Let's see what that sounds like. Right, so, well, there we go. We now have the attack mapped on our ADSR envelope. Where are we now? Okay, a high pass, low pass filter. Okay, now the way to do this, the simplest way to do this is to use our different types of filter switching here. Okay, so the filters aren't turned on these, so we'll need to turn them all on. Well, actually they're on with that one there, but we're not turned on with this one here, so let's turn that one on. So FM piano's on, analog sweep filters on, and the operator filter is on. Cool. So they're all on. Now we should put them all on the same one. So I think we'll just start with everything with a low pass filter. Yeah, let's do that. And then we have the switching, and we can right click here and we can macro that to macro 6. Whoops, I remembered I didn't give this one a color, did I? Very remiss of me. And we'll give this one a name as well. Well, this one was attack. Cool. And this one here is going to filter type. Oh, I didn't give that one color. Here we go. Let's give this filter type. That looks good for the operator. So you'll see now when I move it through, a little green spot there, we're changing our type of filter. So we can now do that with all of our instruments. So here we are, and map to filter type. Yep, cool. And this one here, map to filter type, and of course we'll give it a color. Okay, so now we can change our filter type, not just switching between high and low pass, but all of them. So let's just turn the filter on so you can see it in action. There we are. I'll put our frequency down in the middle, and we're switching between the different types of filters. Now we've got one last thing to do in regards to filters. If we check again, we need to have controls for cutoff and resonance. Terrific. So let's jump in here and have a look at these different controls that we have. All right, we've got macro 7 and macro 8 left, and we need 2 more. So that's great. So let's start on the FM piano, and we'll go frequency, map to 7, and our res will map to 8. On the sweeping pad, frequency, map to filter freak, resonance to res, and operator. Our last one, which is our sub, we will do the same thing. We can now give these ones some colors. Let's make them a bit more individual. There we go. Terrific. So we can control our filter type from here. So right now we can see that our filter is a high pass filter. Pull that down. Now it's a low pass filter. So let's see what that sounds like. Change the filter type. Great. Bump up the resonance. distortion there. Let's turn our overall volumes down. And let's pull our res down. Great, so our instrument is now ready to go. So we could call this our Task 1 instrument. And now that we've done that, we can probably don't need to see the chains all the time, so we can get rid of the chains. And there's a very neat little instrument for us that we can pull up and control different parts of it. We can adjust the volume. Different sections, even pull up our sub there. So there we go. So now that we've made our instrument, what am I going to do with it? Well, that's pretty easy. I'm just going to click on it and drop it up into my user library. User library is a little crowded in there, but if we just drop it in there, there we can see Task 1 instrument. Cool, ready to go. Alrighty. I hope you've enjoyed that little session there, just to show you how handy that now is. We can grab our Task 1 instrument and drop it in at any time when we want to use it. Alrighty, next video I'm just going to sequence something pretty simply with our Task 1 instrument. Alright, thanks for viewing.